Today we meet Terrell Durham, a rising MMA fighter with a world title shot. But what will he do when he finds out that his path to get there has been planned by some dangerous people? And what will happen when he chooses to go against what they want? This is Aceblade number 1.
I'm a geek. I use my bubbles when I speak. I'm a freak because you just see that for me. I'm unique. There is only one of me. I'm complete, so I really don't care what you think of me. I'm a geek.
Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers and YouTubers that you've never heard of. I am Cross, and today we are looking at Aceblade number 1 from Fourth Wall Publishing. Before we get started, if you aren't enjoying the content from Comics in the Cross, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos. And if you are enjoying the content that we're putting out there, please help us out by going ahead and hitting that like button as well. It really does help us in the algorithm here on YouTube. Fourth Wall Publishing, or 4WP, is a self-published creator-owned universe owned by Danny J. Quick, co-creator, co-writer and letterer of Aceblade. And along with Aceblade, 4WP has released a number of titles, including Lumberjacks, Harlem, King Supreme, and Ballad of the Black Rose. I'll leave a link for their website down below, so please go and check it out. Everything that they are doing is amazing, so go and give it a look for yourself. But back to our title for today. As well as writing and lettering by Danny J. Quick, Aceblade is co-written by Christopher Hollars, the creator of Aceblade, and has pencils from Vhon Remot, inks by Michael W. Kellar and Silas Dixon, along with colouring from Richard Cardoso. I originally heard about 4WP and Aceblade when a video from Danny J. Quick came across my TikTok For You feed. I honestly didn't give it much thought at the time. I just kind of moved on with my scrolling, and as I continued to go at my For You page, I continued to see more videos of his coming across my feed, and became quickly drawn in by his happy, upbeat, excitable personality. He seemed to have a passion for the comics that he was creating, and this made me really want to go and check out his work. And I picked up Aceblade number 1 as my first ever purchase from the TikTok shop. So massive shout out to TikTok for allowing that. I also want to give a massive shout out to Danny himself, as I received my order very quickly. After I placed the order, I requested that he would sign the copy, which he happily did for me, and I originally ordered the standard cover for issue 1 so that I could review it, but he ended up sending me the J. Hammond variant cover. See it because of the light, but it's an absolutely stunning cover, so a massive huge shout out to him. He did not have to do that, and it looks absolutely amazing, so thank you so much for that, Danny. But I think it's time for us to finally jump into issue 1 and check out the story of Aceblade. As the comic opens, we see a dark desert outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, with 2 bodies lying in the sand, bloodied and left for dead. The narration introduces us to Aceblade. He is described as a beacon of light for the city, and his fight is against the greed and hatred that are rampant there. We then flash back to earlier in the night and see that one of the men is Terrell Durham. He's an MMA fighter for MMAX and is on his way to the cage to battle Chris Fowler for the world title. We get 3 pages of action inside the cage between Durham and Fowler, and I do have to commend the art during these pages for their ability to portray the action taking place. When it comes to sports like this in comics, I often find that the ability to show an active sport in static images can be a really hit or miss thing, but I honestly think that they did a good job in portraying the fight between the 2. As the fight comes to a finish, Durham knocks out Fowler and becomes the new world champion. But after the fight, he finds out that his friend Chuck took a payday for Durham to lose the fight. Chuck states that he didn't think that he would win, as his last 5 fights have come from fighters being paid to take falls for him. Chuck states he's going to take care of this himself, but after getting cleaned up and going against the coach's advisement, Durham decides to go after Chuck and make sure he doesn't get hurt. Durham heads out to the casino lounge, believing that Chuck went there. A bouncer called Mortar tells him that Chuck's in a private meeting. But after some pushing and persuading, Mortar says he'll go and see if he can find him. We then see a beautiful woman who is off to the side approaching Durham, who calls herself Lady Luck, and tries to talk Durham into having a drink with her. But he isn't having any of it, and he goes looking for Chuck himself, and in the back alley of the casino lounge, he fights a bunch of thugs and eventually gets knocked out by Mortar. Durham wakes up to find himself and Chuck tied up in the back of a van with a man calling himself Rooster, telling them they are going to be killed and disposed of. Durham, however, is able to cut himself free and fight back long enough to grab Chuck and make a break for freedom. But they don't get very far and are gunned down and left for dead, just like we've seen in the opening pages of the comic. The issue then ends with someone pulling up to where Durham and Chuck are and helping Durham to his feet as he says he feels like he's about to pass out again. The origin story of Terrell Durham becoming the vigilante Aceblade is definitely a recognisable one. A story of crossing the wrong people and being left for dead, or even a fighter that's expected to throw a big fight, are well-known tropes, but as I've said in previous reviews, just because something's a trope doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. You know, there's a reason things are popular and become tropes and become heavily used. Aceblade really does give me vibes of watching a good old-fashioned 80s, 90s revenge movie, with the anti-hero protagonist seeking revenge on those that have wronged him. I am very intrigued to see where this trope goes, as we see Durham take on the persona of Aceblade and how he evolves from seeking revenge against these people that tried to kill him and becoming a beacon of light like it talked about at the very beginning of the issue, if indeed that is a path he will eventually go down in the coming issues. As for the writing in Aceblade #1, I have to be honest and say that it was very hit or miss for me. I feel like a lot of the opening text was done well, with the opening monologue and even Durham's internal monologue during the fight coming across very clear with intent and purpose. However, when it comes to the dialogue between the characters, it felt a lot more clunky for me. Interactions also didn't feel like they flowed smoothly, some feeling like there was too much dialogue there and it was unneeded, and other interactions feeling like they just stopped dead or hurried along. And when it comes to the art, I felt like it was very rough. I don't know if it comes down to the pencils, the inks, or the colours, or some combination of all of them, but the art style was definitely a lot rougher than I was expecting in the comic. I also have to mention that I personally struggled with the layout of the comic in a couple of pages. There were a couple of times that I honestly struggled with the natural flow of the panels, and I didn't know which way to go on the page or what order they came in. And partially this was also due to some of the smaller panels where I couldn't totally see what was happening and work out what was going on, and it kind of took me out of the comic trying to work out what was happening. I also struggled with the layout of some of the dialogue balloons for characters and conversations, as it wasn't always apparent and clear what character dialogue came before another. Also, at times the characters would have lines from them to text rather than a speech balloon, which I assume was a choice to allow you to see some of the art, but for how little it was used, it felt very randomly placed, especially on a panel where it was used alongside other characters who had speech bubbles being used for their dialogue. But I do also want to state that I am very aware for some of these creators working on this that this book is the first thing that they've worked on, or one of the first things that they have worked on. They don't have a massive amount of credits to their name in the comic industry. That these creators have continued to make books, so I can't necessarily speak to their work and what it looks like in the comics that have recently come out. This one is from a number of years ago. I also know that creating comics is a very difficult thing to do. I myself have attempted to write a comic script before multiple times with no success. I definitely do not possess the artistic bones in my body needed to create some of the amazing comic book artwork, so I want to just make that clear as I'm speaking into this situation also. I do, however, want to be completely honest and forthright with all of you in my opinion. I feel like being honest in critiquing and reviewing this and the place as a comic critic that it is my place to give my honest opinion on this stuff. And in the world of comics, not everything is going to be to everyone's taste, and that is also okay. But if Aceblade sounds like something that you would be interested in checking out, then please go and follow the link down below for 4WP and check out more of their stuff, and 100% support small creators like this that are living out their dreams. I personally, with all that I've said, I do honestly feel like I want to check out issue 2, as I am very intrigued to see where the direction of the story goes, as well as I want to see the progression and the future creations of the artists and writers involved in this, and see what happens in the upcoming issues of Aceblade. But that is it for today. Have you checked out Aceblade number 1 for yourself? What do you think of the series if you have, or is it something you're interested in checking out? And what other comics would you like us to cover here on the channel? Please leave it in the comments down below. And if you're interested, be sure to check out our Patreon, where you can also get early access to our reviews a few days before they drop here on YouTube, and also get to check out our indie comic book club before it releases on YouTube a whole month early, as well as exclusive content specifically for our supporters on Patreon for as low as $2 a month. Also as well, I don't know if you're all aware, but we also do have a gaming channel where we have reviews for some of the latest and best in video games and tabletop gaming. So why not click on the link down below for that YouTube channel and go and check out some of our content over there as well. But that's it for now. Take care, and remember, it's a good week to be a geek. See you all next time. Peace.